It is the 14th of January, which means it is officially the 3-year anniversary of when I started Mystery Pony Fiction, and I look forward to keep going and reaching bigger milestones. I would like to give a special thank you to the couple of people who have made monetary contribution to help offset some of the costs that I have to keep making this series. It still costs me a lot more than I get back, but maybe one day I will break even. These people are Kalash93, Shakespeare Eccles, Flushful Reality, Pseudo Bob, Crimson Equin, Timothy, and Supersonic Andrew. Here's hoping that one day I will have too many supporters to have time to name them all. Now, here is a top 10 list of the most popular readings I've done, according to you, the viewers, ever since that day 3 years ago. Anon Goes to Australia by I'm New 2023. Stood before the Tribunal of Internal Taxation Services, Anon listened to a long list of taxes Anon has not paid. Income tax, purchase tax, musical number avoidance tax, hug tax, meat-eating tax, a posh-looking white unicorn stallion said. In total, over 1 million bits are owed. Tell me, Mr. Anon, what is your defence? He asked. You're just hating because I climbed out of my social class, Anon said defiantly. Slamming a gavel onto a wooden block, the stallion looked down at me. We sentence you to 30 months in a royal penal colony in Australia, a pink mare said before a pair of guards started dragging Anon out of the room. After a short carriage ride, Anon was taken by airship to the continent of Australia. Being unceremoniously thrown onto the beach, Anon saw where he would be living for nearly 2 years. Just 50 feet away from the sandy beach were dozens of huts built in rows. Wandering over to them, Anon was met by a gaggle of dozens of ponies, zebras and even griffins. Watching them go about their day, Anon spotted a pair of guards sitting on the far end of the town. Walking up to them, Anon stopped once he saw them move their heads towards him. Welcome to the new Canterlot Penal Colony. Don't escape, one said in a monotone voice. You don't sound particularly bothered, Anon said. We don't want to be here any more than you. So long as you don't escape, we don't really care what you do, the other guard said. Further investigating the environment, Anon found himself surrounded by the beach on one end and a forest on the other. He wasn't well read about Equestria outside of Ponyville or Canterlot, but Anon could tell this was an island from the trip here. Escaping back to Equestria was an option. He could see plenty of trees could be used to make a boat. The idea of hiding out with Zatora was appealing, but those guards seemed like they were going through a lot. Getting them in trouble seemed like a dick move. Anon had to admit the beach was nice to look at. Clean sand stretching out for miles in each direction. A sparkling sea. Screw it, I'm building a bar, Anon stated. If only he knew where the fuck to get wood. This wasn't Minecraft, so punching them wasn't an option. While in thought, Anon failed to notice the tree he was standing under collapsed. Hey nerd, get out of the way, a familiar, mean voice called out. Turning around, Anon saw Gilda the Griffin stood there with a hand axe and her signature scowl. Gilda? What the fuck are you doing here? Anon asked. Some fancy pants bitch in Manhattan accused me of assaulting her after she caught me in bed with her husband, she explained. Were you in bed with her husband? Anon asked. Yeah, I was. So? The guy was called stupid rich for Mars' sake, Gilda stated. What about you? Did they finally ban losers in Equestria? She asked mockingly. Tax evasion, Anon corrected. Figures, Gilda said, going back to hacking away at trees. Hey, you wouldn't mind helping me build a bar, would you? Anon asked. Letting out a mocking chuckle, Gilda went back to her work. Why would I waste time helping a moron? Besides, this dump doesn't have any booze, so who'd go there? She asked. Looking around at the trees and shrubbery, Anon could spot various berry plants he recognised along with wild sugar cane. I know how to make booze, I just need a place to dispense it, Anon explained. That got Gilda's attention. Turning around, she raised an eyebrow. Fine, I'll help you build your stupid bar, but I want free alcohol whenever I want, she bargained. Sure, but you do need to help build it, Anon stated. And so the two would construct a large shack. Within it were multiple crude wooden tables and chairs. At the end opposite to the door was a large wooden counter. Behind it was Anon, painting a sign he intended to put over the front door. Australian Bar and BBQ. So when's the booze coming? Gilda asked impatiently. Once the rum I put in that bathtub you found is matured, then you can have booze, Anon explained. Back in Canterlot, Celestia wasn't too happy. Over a year ago, her close friend Anon the human went missing. While many presumed him dead, Celestia never gave up hope. Recently, however, she found that Anon had been sent to Australia. Naturally, every pony who was involved was swiftly exiled to Yakistan. "Ready my personal ship, we're going to rescue Anon," Celestia ordered. She had brought Twilight from Ponyville for the journey. Her mind could only think what had happened to a friend in that dreadful speck of land. Pinned down to his bed, Gilda sweating on top of him, Anon smirked up at her. "Nerd," she stated. "Bitch," he responded. "I want another kid," she stated. "I'll leave it to your dirty minds to think up what they did that night." Celestia's ship had reached Australia. Expecting a small outpost often used for penal colonies, Celestia was surprised. A small town had cropped up where it should be. Dozens more buildings than it should be had gathered around a large stretch of farmland fed by artificial rivers. "Princess, are you sure this is the right place?" Twilight asked. "It should be," Celestia said. Something fishy was going on here, and it wasn't just the unicorn sat on a dock by the beach fishing. Close to 18 months after his imprisonment, Anon stood at his bar, pouring another wooden cup of berry cider. Anon placed it down on the counter. "Enjoy," he said, watching the zebra take it away. The door suddenly shot open. Celestia and Twilight stormed in, looking around for a second before their eyes met with Anon's question mark shaped face. "Welcome to Australia," Anon welcomed, startling the princesses. His cork hat shook as he did. "Anon, we've come to rescue you. I'm so sorry the tribunal sent you here. I've already seen to it that they've all been removed from their positions." Celestia apologised profusely. "Oh, that's alright, I'm good here," Anon said as he polished another cup. Put off by this, Celestia furrowed her brow. "What?" she asked. "I'm good here. I've got a bar, all the rum I can drink, plus a wife and kid," Anon explained. "Wife?" Twilight said in shock. "That's right, nerd," Gilda said, drawing the unicorn's attention. Stood by a grill, cooking a pan full of shrimp, was Gilda. "Gilda?" Twilight asked, not expecting to see the rude griffin. "That's right, Purple Smarts. His ass is All mine, Gilda said confidently. That explains this then, Celestia said, pointing at the green and brown feathered griffin baby hanging comfortably from Anon's chest. Oh yeah, this is Hugh Jackman, mine and Gilda's kid. Anon introduced Celestia to his kid. I lost rock, paper, scissors, Gilda explained. So, you're perfectly fine here? Celestia asked. Yeah, turns out if you organise a bunch of convicts, you can accomplish a lot, Anon explained. So, you're not coming back to Ponyville? Twilight asked, worried her friend wouldn't be coming home. I'll come back to visit Twiggles, Anon stated. As you see, we've got a port up and running, so yeah, we can come and go whenever we want, Anon explained. We've got booze, why would we leave? A zebra asked, getting cheers of agreement from the rest of the bar. I'm surprised you didn't know I was here sooner. Luna's been coming for weeks, Anon said, pointing to the other end of the bar. Chugging a barrel of cider, Luna sat at a table with a plate of prawns and chips in front of her. Luna? Celestia said in shock. Tia, you're here. Anon gave us a great deal on a winter bungalow. Now let us pour more of this liquid into our bodies, Luna said, swinging one of Anon's shirts in the air, clearly drunk. So, you girls want a drink? Anon asked, watching her sister fall over giggling like a school filly. Celestia let out a sigh. Only Anon could turn a penal colony into a semi-pleasant holiday destination. I'll have whatever she had, Celestia groaned, and thus began the first outpost of the Commonwealth of Australia. A.N. Anyone want to see Anon go to New Zealand next? How to Beat Your Cheating Unicorn by The Pinked Wonder. It was do or die. I had to summon all my gentleness. The Jenga tower was poised to collapse and blow raspberries at me again. However, history wasn't going to repeat itself this time. No way was I losing to Starlight 4 times in a row. 2 losses in a row I can stomach, and 3 were embarrassing enough. But me, Eric Buggy Reed, suffering 4 straight losses? Nope, nay, negative, not a chance. Insert any other synonym for no. It was even worse how Starry wore such a smug smile on her face, lying on her stomach, and on the other side of the stack. One more reason for that mare to go down. It would smack that smirk off her face. Finally, I started to push a block out of the tower, bit by bit, willing my hand to stay firm and steady. With how several floors only had 1 block left, even the slightest goof up would end in a 4th, painful defeat. Got it halfway out. So far, so good. Come on, tower. Stand strong for daddy. Just an inch left to go. And there, slid my block fully out without causing an avalanche. Blew a big old sigh of defeat-defying relief. Still, it wasn't over yet. I had to place it on top of the tower with that destruction kneeling over. If I choked, there would be one gleeful pony and one sore human here in Twilight's library. Half inch by half inch, I lowered my hand and laid my block as lightly as possible on the highest block available. Stay! Stay! Yes! Set it without a collapse! Actually, there was a collapse. A glorious one of my favourite unicorn's smirk. Ha! Who's the man? As soon as the words flew from my mouth, Starlight's eyelashes reminded me that she isn't even male, and I'm Equestria's only man anyway. Before you become Snarklight, don't answer that. Point is, I didn't lose. Or, I was sure it was going to fall. I straightened my hat. I must have dove deep in the zone for me not to notice it had shifted on my head. Well, you were wrong, but I have good news. What? I pointed to the stack. It felt like it was battling its non-existent teeth and nails to remain standing. That thing has to be at its limit. At this point, just blowing over it might knock it over. How is that good news for me? It's my turn. I never said it was good news for you. Okay, that was clever. She leaned closer and stared at the snack. There's gotta be something I can do. I can feel it. Stare all day if you want. It'll just delay my W and your L. The imminent loser continued her examinations from one angle after another, even walking around the tower in circles in the process. She stopped walking and a sly smile curled on her face. What was going on in that head of hers this time? Hold on to your victory speech, because there is a move I can make. Doubt it, just accept your L so we can play again and I shoot for a 2-game winning streak. Oh really? Her smile grew wider and slyer. Would you like to bet 20 bits that I can't? Of all the bets Starlight had ever proposed for us, this would be the easiest to win yet. Props to the mare putting her bits where her mouth is. But she might as well have just given them to me on a literal silver platter. Why not? I can use more bits, so I'll take that bet. Good. Starlight's horn glowed. All the blocks lit in turquoise magic. A block, the last one on its floor, slid out and floated onto the top. The stack was now in 2 halves, yet it didn't fall due to being held up by magic. That big cheater! It looks like the start of your winning streak will have to wait, Buggy. Sorry/not sorry. Hey, that's cheating! What? Cheating? Whatever do you mean? The cheater asked, trying to sound and smile innocently, and failed miserably at looking innocent. You know whatever I mean. Star cheat. Even if ponies other than unicorns rarely try to play this game for obvious reasons, there has to be a rule against this. Well, I don't know about human rules for Jenga, but it doesn't break any equestrian rules. She floated one of the many books off a bookshelf in Twilight's library. Knowing Twi, the princess of books, she'd prefer to have more, and laid it out in front of me. I skimmed through the book, yet found jack about unicorns and alicorns being forbidden from supporting Jenga towers with magic. Then again, it was fishy that Starlight already knew that rulebook's exact location. Could this have been set up before Hoof? See? Okay, no rule says unicorns can't do that, but how do I know you didn't cast some spell to rewrite this book earlier? Would I be devious enough to do that? Starlight's fake, innocent smiles might suck, but they at least look cute. Yes, you're Starlight Glimmer. Touché, but I won our bet. Starlight levitated herself over to me and petted me on my head with a hoof. She loves doing that any time she owns me. Then expectantly hung the same head-petting hoof outstretched in front of me. My bits, please. Yeah, I'll fork over your stinking bits Wait, I have an idea. What is it? I bet you 40 bits that I can win. Her eyes widened, a little surprised my bet offer didn't shock her into falling. But nope, Starry managed to keep herself airborne. What? How? You know I would let go as soon as you try to move a block and make you lose, right? Then I guess you missed a move open to me. I pulled out my own sly smirk. Or are you scared I might pull off the W despite you bending rules? No, if you really want to lose more bits, I won't talk you out of it. Then it's a bet? She nodded. It's a bet. Perfect. Now that she took the bait, I tapped her horn. It stopped glowing and both Starlight and the Jenga tower hit the floor. The former grunted on impact and blocks from the latter shattered every which way. Never loved it more that a unicorn's magic can be cancelled by tapping their horn, including a certain cheating unicorn I'm castle mates with. Since I technically didn't say it was my turn, I believe the L belongs to you, Starry. Hold it high. But that's not fair. I would joke about how you can't talk, but there's something more important for me to do and say. I leaned down to the outwitted cheater and petted her head, then stretched out my hand in front of her. My bits, please? I might have gotten the sweet last laugh on her that time, but our shenanigans brought back warm memories of my two big sisters and my shenanigans from my old world, especially Erica's. Erica and I, in particular, always tried to one-up each other any chance we got, whether during competitions, playing baseball, or whatever. It was fun recreating that in Equestria, sometimes with an equestrian big sister. Besides, it's not like I can go back to that world, so this was the best I had. No One Refuses Me Amor Cadenza by Zamariak. No one refuses me amor cadenza. It was a little after sunrise, and in a conveniently abandoned room, a room that used to be mine and Shining's before I divorced his anti-snuggling behind, there was a very stubborn, yet undeniably attractive human tied up on a bed. An undeniably attractive, naked human tied up on a bed. He was so stubborn, but now his time is up. He's mine. It had been a little over a year since we first met, and a little under 4 months since I'd divorced Shining Armour. Turns out that my dream of a perfect prince had been just that, a dream. It was fantastic when we had married a few years ago, but as time went on, I had quickly realised that Shining was not the perfect stallion I'd fallen in love with. For not a mere 2 years after we married, he actually stopped accepting my snuggles. And when he stopped accepting them, my love for him quickly began to wane. I am the princess of love. Snuggles are as necessary to me as breathing. But then I met Adam, a brave man that had survived outside of the Crystal Kingdom for a fortnight, in the cold without any warmth and barely any sustenance. Shining had left me long before the time I met him, so after meeting and taking him into my castle, it was with no shame that I began to nurse him back to health. We became good friends quickly, as did he and both my aunts, though Twilight has yet to show any emotion towards him but disdain. Then again, she's yet to look at me with anything but disdain too, so maybe it's just what her face looks like nowadays. Adam said it looked like a smacked ass, which, while funny, deserves some punishment. So I smacked his ass like he was a naughty colt. He enjoyed it, whether he wanted to admit it or not. Celestia's teats. Even I enjoy a bit of spanking every now and then. Perhaps going so long without any snuggles wasn't the best of ideas. Sure, I didn't want to snuggle a stranger, but times can get pretty desperate when I go into withdrawal. So after a few failed attempts, I asked Adam if we could snuggle. But he refused, firmly. Shining had refused. That cross-dresser in bar 69 had refused. And even Dusty, my close and personal servant, had refused. But oh no, There was no way in Tartarus I was going to let my best friend refuse. He had not accepted a single snuggle from any pony, not a one. So after a few hours of intense thought, I came to a very clear conclusion. Adam needed to be snuggled, whether he liked it or not. Thus why my dear friend was currently tied up stark naked to a bed, and by the looks of things he was just about to awaken. It was time. I watched with savage glee as Adam opened his eyes, blearily blinking in an attempt to rid them of sleep. Where am I? He croaked, looking around the room. I let out a very light cough to draw his attention, and draw it I did, as his eyes, filled with fear, quickly snapped onto me. "Hello, my sweet Adam," I crooned lovingly. "How was your nap?" Cadence? He stammered. "What's going on? Why am I tied up to this bed? Naked?" I ignored his cute little questions and instead began to make my way over, running my hooves along his left leg as I did so. "Do you want to know something, Adam?" I asked sultrily. He looked at me warily, but nodded, and thus I cleared my throat and began to explain away. "I've recently come to a very startling conclusion. My scrumptious-looking friend, you have been without any personal contact since the moment you arrived, and I have been without any personal contact since well before that. And upon realizing this, I came to a very cuddly solution. Without any warning, I fluttered off the ground and on top of my delightfully smooth friend. Friend, not for much longer. I continued, am going to snuggle you like you have never been snuggled before. And you, my beautiful friend, are going to lie back, relax, and enjoy every snuggly moment of it." What? He sputtered. "Cadence, no! I don't want to be snuggled. And if you were my friend, then you'd accept my decision." I grinned. "Ah, I giggled. "But that's where your argument falters, for I am not your friend. Not any more. Now, I am more than that. And by more than that, I mean your snuggling buddy. And by your snuggling buddy, I mean the one and only man you are ever going to give every ounce of your love and tenderness to for the rest of our lives, understand?" He blinked, slowly. "I need an adult," he whimpered. "I am one," I countered. "Now, let the snuggling begin." I wrapped my hooves around the back of his neck, pressed our lips together, and began to snuggle him senseless. No! Actually, this feels quite pleasant. 5 hours of snuggly goodness later. Adam, now untied, was breathing heavily as he looked up at the ceiling, his body tied, bruised, and thoroughly snuggled. As for myself, I too was completely satisfied. My wanton craving for snuggles was finally quenched, thus saving the very spirit of what could have been an innocent soul. Of course, Adam was innocent too, but the snuggles cried out for him, and so snuggle him I did. "I am both really aroused and utterly confused," he spoke up suddenly, turning to face me. "I thought we were going to have sex, not snuggle the breath out of each other for 5 odd hours." "Sex?" I asked curiously, putting a hoof to my muzzle in contemplation. "Oh, so that's why you were so stubborn." "Well, yeah," he chuckled, brushing his forehead lightly as he breathed a sigh of relief. "Guess I had nothing to be worried about after all. The snuggling was quite nice, and I'm glad you stripped me for it. Fur on skin is a nice sensation. Though the kissing was unexpected. I guess you like me, huh?" "Quite so," I giggled. "Perhaps we could go out and watch a movie later." "Are you asking me on a date? Me a more cadenza?" "Maybe," I drawled slyly. "Then sure thing, I'd like that." The next few minutes were spent in comfortable silence, broken only by the occasional nuzzle and kiss I gave him. Adam? Yeah? Have you ever heard of a struggle snuggle?
Holding your breath still, you jump the fire. We'll just sit and wait till you see me fly. You know they'll never catch me for it. See me fly, the way I put my finger on it. See me fly, you got it, then try to tell me you got the wrong guy. See me fly, you know they'll never catch me for it. See me fly, the way I put my finger on it. See me fly.
Pony Fans by Sock Puppet. Inspired by this tweet. Confused cat? I'm top 37 this month on OnlyFans. I made about $100. That means 63% of creators made less than $100 this month. Do whatever you want with this information. The article on Forbes began. Erotic content creators are the latest industry to feel their livelihoods threatened by our pastel equine visitors from across the dimensions. OnlyFans, a bastion of homemade pornography, alleged child exploitation, and hacked credit card numbers, allows creators to post their often erotic content to subscription or pay-per-view customers. The pickings have long been slim, most OnlyFans creators making well less than $100 per month, and a tiny few making tremendous outcomes. But even those elite few are now losing subscribers as ponies have rocketed to the top of not just OnlyFans, but also Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and other services. Although the ponies seem to refuse to make clearly explicit content, their suggestive streams leave just enough to the imagination that viewers throw money at them in hopes for more. Let's explore some of the content that has rocketed the ponies to the top slots of OnlyFans.
Recording.
Alright, howdy y'all, and welcome to Sweet Apple Streaming. Today's first tier email. She squinted at her iPad, the midday sunlight bright on the screen. Is from CBT Fan69. Whoa-wee! Lots of you humans have them same three initials. CBT here is a red delicious tier subscriber, and he requests, Dear Sweet Apple Streaming, could you put my name on one of the trees before you buck it? Boy howdy, I don't know why all you'll just keep on asking that, but here at Sweet Apple Streaming, we aim to please. Mac, label the tree. Big Mac, holding a Sharpie marker in his mouth, wrote CBT Fan 69 on the tree's bark. She put down her iPad, pulled her hat low over her eyes, and prepared to deliver a crushing buck to the tree, her hindquarters tensed and rippling with muscles under her sweaty coat. Hey, wait, AJ, hold up! CBT here's request is for me to buck it. Well, alrighty then, Applebloom. I ain't see any reason why you can't give it a buck.
Recording.
Dear Purple Book Horse, she read from the monitor, please read from A Tale of Two Data Structures by Nuth Dickens. Please don't use your wings or magic to fetch it. Her ears flicked and she frowned momentarily. Why do you all want me to grab the books that way? Magic is far more efficient. She nosed a stepladder to the proper shelf and hopped to the top step. The book was on the very top row and she stretched her body out, with the camera directly behind her in order to reach it. Her tail stretched straight backwards to counterbalance her awkward position. $900 in tips arrived in the 6 seconds her tail was held up and away from her body.
Recording.
Oh, righty. She dropped the spatula into the sink, joining the huge pile of dirty dishes and baking accoutrements. There you go! A buttercream cake frosted with white cream frosting. Thank you to Cream Pie Fan R34 for this week's Cupcake Tier subscriber special dessert baking request. The cake sat in its baking dish on the counter, covered in a thick layer of white frosting. Oh, now for my favourite part, I get to lick the bowl. The mixing bowl contained the dregs of the creamy white frosting. She put her entire head into the bowl, licking the bottom clean. When she was done, she looked back at the camera. Her face and mane were covered in globs of the sticky white confection. Until next time!
Recording.
Welcome to another great and powerful stream. Today's request is... She stared at the monitor. Another escape trick. Why are these so popular? Our great and powerful assistant Starlight will bind up your great and powerful host. She leaned down, rump high and 4/4 low, as ropes levitated around her torso and legs. Make sure the bonds are tight. Our great and powerful subscribers want a good magic trick. Bind me tight. The great and powerful trick. She gasped around the ball gag that was suddenly in her mouth. The assistant grinned at the camera and winked.
Recording.
Another request for rear leg work, huh? She brushed her sweaty forelock from her eyes. Dear workout horse, please put the camera where we can see the technique better this time. Okay, can do. My specialty is cardio, but I'm awesome enough to get in some extra strength training. She moved the streaming camera to face one of the weight benches. A barbell waited for her, and she laid flat on the bench. Rainbow tail towards the camera and head away from the camera, and got her rear hooves under the barbell. Her wings flopped loose. This is about 15% more than my body weight. Okay, Bolt, come spot me.
Yeah!
Once the huge stallion was spotting her, the small mare started pumping the iron with her rear legs, showing off her muscular hips and butt. As she pumped the iron, her tail unconsciously relaxed towards the floor, and the stream gained a flood of upvotes.
Recording.
This week, Diamond Tier subscriber, Smash Fan 007 request Yak Smash. Haha, Yak Smash on every stream. This special request, Yak Smash special guest star Gallus, and Smash Yak's very special friend Sandbar. They trudged in front off camera. I'm scared. Here, Gallus, take helmet if scared like little baby chick. Griffins don't like helmets. Griffin also should take shoulder pads. Did Griffin sign waiver of liability? Is that what that form was? Now, Sandbar take helmet, smashing will begin soon. Stream subscribers have been asking long time for stream where Yuna smashed two guys, but Yuna not sure why.
Recording.
Coming girls, hello stream viewers, darlings, the weather forecast for Nightmare Night. I'm sorry, Halloween on this side of the portal is for frigid cold and possible sleet. Therefore Sweetie Belle, Scootaloo and Apple Bloom here. Oh, hello Diamond Tiara, so good to see you. Will you be helping me show you how to sew warm, tight-fitting stockings with good grip on the hooves for the freezing rain, Scootaloo here is wearing a Kerbal Space Program astronaut costume, so she shall need orange stockings to resemble her spacesuit. Scootaloo, turn around and give me your back leg. And furthermore, continued the furious post, I take umbrage at the accusations of foul exploitation for what was clearly an innocent cultural misunderstanding. If OnlyFans refuses to reinstate my account, I shall move my stream and all its associated monetization here to my Twitch. The article on Forbes concluded, whether one believes the ponies and yaks and griffins and others' assertions that they don't intend the sexual interpretations of their streams or not, it's clear that the viewership wants to buy what the ponies are selling, and human creators are going to have to up their game in order to compete. Thank you to Cream Pie Fan Us. Oh my god. Sunny Sparkle by Misty Bright Dawn. The beautiful warm sun shines on Maritime Bay, creating a beautiful spring morning for its citizens. Every pony can be seen slowly waking up to start their day, to get to their daily chores and to begin school. Among them is a small earth pony with purple mane who goes by Sunny Star Scout. About a year ago, Sunny reunited the three pony nations, Earth, Pegasi and Unicorn. She helped to return magic back to Equestria, and in return, she made some friends herself. Sunny, along with her foal-hood friend, Hitch Trailblazer, formed friendships with Unicorn Izzy Moonbow and twins Pip and Zip. Sunny eventually came out of her room and sat down at the breakfast table. Her friends were busy today, so none of them gathered around the table with her. She got up from her seat and decided to make the beloved breakfast pancakes herself. As she was gathering ingredients for the batter in the kitchen, Sunny's eyes fell upon an old photo of her father, taken when she was a filly. She held it to her hoop and looked at it longingly. "Dad, I wish you were still here," Sunny said to herself. She continues what she's doing. After she's gathered milk, the box of pancake mix, eggs and a cup of water, she begins to pour each ingredient into a bowl, one by one. Once she mixed the ingredients to its desired texture, she mixed it twice more to rid of the slight batter lumps. She already set aside the pan for the pancakes, and while gathering ingredients earlier, Sunny turned on the heat to the stove to preheat the pan. These pancakes are going to smell good," she said with glee. The pancake eventually heated up a few seconds later, so she was able to pour in 2 imperfect circles of batter at a time. Noticing how imperfect the shape was, Sunny gave a little chuckle. She decides to use the rest of the batter, hoping to make enough pancakes for her friends later during the day. When she was done using up all of the batter, she continued to flip pancakes until she could flip no more. After spending half an hour prepping pancakes, she eventually gathers all the fully prepared goodies and wraps them in clear food wrap. "This should keep it nice and fresh," Sunny said to herself. She then sets the pancakes into the fridge immediately to take out for later. After a satisfying breakfast for herself, she heads down to the next part of her house to explore, the rooms. Near Sunny's room, there was a bigger room once belonging to her father a few years ago. Sunny went into her father's old dusty room and slowly opened the rather worn down door with her hoop. The room was full of notebooks, including maps and signs of old Equestria. Sunny and her father used to always research about the Equestria's past and what happened to the friendships among the pony folk. Unfortunately, they never came to any conclusion, making Sunny depressed. Sunny looked at the faded photo of her father, one taken on his wedding day. The photo was so old that she could not make out her father's face, even the pony next to him. As she looked at the photo closely, a thought came to Sunny's mind. Who was my mother? How come I don't know anything about her? Thinking about this made Sunny sadder and more confused. I must go someplace else to think this over. Being here in my father's room won't help. She gathered her saddlebag, fills it with her main essentials and heads out the door. Sunny then closes the door behind her after making her exit. A little later, Sunny arrives at the porch overlooking the clear blue sea. The cool spring breeze was blowing in her face as the sound of the sea waves calmed Sunny's mind. As she closed her eyes to enjoy the euphoria for a second, she opens her eyes to a sudden purple light in the distance. Sunny jumps in surprise as she observes the purple light covering the entire bay. The purple aura eventually envelops together into the form of a tall alicorn. The sight of the aura was heavenly. Sunny couldn't believe who she was seeing directly in front of her. It was the former princess of Equestria, Twilight Sparkle. Princess Twilight Sparkle? Sunny gasped. The one and only, the purple alicorn replied. You must be Sunny Starscout, I presume. Princess Twilight then walks closer to Sunny. A strange shock comes to her. How did my own role model know my name all this time? She's never even met me. Sunny replied to Twilight in a shy tone. Yes, I'm Sunny, but how do you know my name? Twilight just smiled. I knew your mother, Sunny. When I saw your appearance from afar earlier by the bay, I had a feeling you looked a lot like her. Sunny looked at Twilight dumbfounded. You knew my mother? But how? The princess took a deep breath. I knew all the guardians of the three crystals. Your mother was one of them, Sunny. Twilight continued her sentence. She was a very kind pony and a very beautiful unicorn. Sunny was speechless. My mother was a unicorn? Twilight answered her with a slight chuckle. Yes, Sunny. Is that why my father didn't tell me anything about my mother? Was he ashamed to admit it because they were two different species? I always knew she was from Bridalwood. Is that why she sent me to live in Maritime Bay with my father? Because I was born an earth pony? Thoughts of hatred filled Sunny's whole being, but the princess's answer was the only thing that could calm her down. Twilight gently put a hoof on Sunny's shoulder to reassure her. You're right about one thing. You're no ordinary horse. You're an alicorn now. Those words almost calmed Sunny. I need to know. You said my mother was one of the three guardians of the crystal, right? Twilight nodded as she placed her hoof off of Sunny's shoulder. Yes, Sunny. After the separation of Pegasi, Unicorn and Earth Ponies, I had no choice but to choose a guardian for each of the crystals. But because the guardians were not eternal, a replacement had to be chosen. One of them was your mother, Sunny. The spiritual holographic form of Princess Twilight slowly begins to fade. Princess, why are you disappearing? Every word Twilight tried to say slowly became fainter. I don't have much time left, Sunny. Take care of yourself. Be careful of any negative thoughts and energies you may encounter. Villains will do anything to make you lose your character and be able to infiltrate you. Look out for Izzy. Twilight Sparkle's face became pale. No, Princess, don't go. Please tell me who this villain is. What happened in Equestria's past? Why should I take care of Izzy? Please don't go. Who am I? Princess, please, I have so many questions. All Sunny could hear was the princess's face give her a faint whisper. You must discover yourself, Sunny. Not everything is supposed to be known. Sometimes you must research the unknown to reach the unknown. You are now a new guardian of the crystal. Find yourself, Sunny. Sunny Sparkle. The princess's face completely disappeared and Sunny was left alone on the porch. The events of today left her mind clouded. Whatever Twilight told her, It was going to be a lot to think about, but all of this would become clear over time, and all Sunny needed was a little patience. As Sunny was staring into space, some pony's hoof tapped her, bringing her back to reality. "Hey Sunny, we're done with our task for this morning. Let's go over to your place and eat those pancakes," Zip said. Zip, along with Pip and Izzy, trotted off to Sunny's house for breakfast. A little later, they arrived at Sunny's place and gathered around the breakfast table. The smell of pancakes filled the whole room. Today's morning was sure an eventful one. Or is it? A few kilometres away, on the other side of the old fences, was the old city of Canterlot. Next to the ivy-coloured palace was a stained glass window containing a purple unicorn with a cream mane, along with a pink unicorn beside the alicorn. It was a work of glass, a work of art that might reveal all things, all the secrets of Equestria. Meanwhile, in a dark palace located near a valley, there lived a blue unicorn and a purple alicorn who had seen everything and heard everything that happened from a bird's eye view. "One day I will become powerful, Sunny. You will see, and all of Equestria will kneel before me, and I will finally rule above all." As the young blue unicorn watched her adoptive mother, a sinister laugh echoed the room. Would her mother manage to rule Equestria one day? Would she finally be able to get her cutie mark? Why did the mother of this blue unicorn show herself to Sunny? All these questions occupied Misty's mind. All secrets will be revealed one day, and nothing will ever remain behind the scenes. This was something Misty knew, and was waiting to find the answers to her questions.
Flying above the sun, flying above the sun. Can't see myself, can't see no one. Flying above the sun, flying above the sun. Can't see myself, can't see no one.
Spitfire tells Rainbow Dash about her nickname, by Mochastar. "Alright team, let's head in and get some chow," Spitfire said loudly and proudly. She singled out Rainbow with her foreleg and waved her over. "I have to talk with you about something. Come on, fly with me." Rainbow maintained a casual expression, hiding the screaming and internal doubts and fears that reared their head when she became anxious. "Sure thing. You know, if you wanted stunt advice, you just could have asked," Rainbow said with false bravado. Spitfire flew toward the administration building and landed outside, pushing the door open with her left foreleg. "Follow me," she commanded. Rainbow followed her leader to her office, and when Spitfire took her seat, Rainbow did as well. "I see you're really fitting in with us on the team. You know how to do the stunts, you learn to control your contrail and change it from your namesake to the standard Wonderbolt smoke trail. I think it's time you learned how I got my nickname." Rainbow sat up and paid rapt attention, eyes forward, eyes on Spitfire's muzzle, and her tail curled around herself. "I'm ready, ma'am. I won't tell any pony. Per confidentiality and secret clearance, you'd better not." She leaned back in her chair and slid her glasses over her eyes, swiveled around in her chair, then looked out the window at new recruits undergoing training. "It was about 100 moons ago. I was a Wonderbolt cadet back then, believe it or not. but they couldn't get my nickname because I was who I am. Always a spitfire, ready for the next adventure or taking chances with stunts that seemed to be too risky. That is, until the day before I got my nickname, Buttfire. Rainbow snickered for a split second before her eyes met Spitfire's, who was still sitting in a chair. Sorry, ma'am. I'd been given a peacekeeping mission to the Minotaur lands. It was early in summer and we were put in charge of making a great show for the festival called Groomdar. Pretty much means a good hot year. We thought it meant for the summer and time ahead, since hey, like the Minotaurs can't handle cold very well. We did our show, shook hands and hands with a couple dozen politicians, ate a small salad with Soren while showing off our pony diet. You know, keeping the standards as they see it. It wasn't until later in the evening, when the festival started. She took her sunglasses off with her forehooves and closed them. We were off duty, so we got out of our uniforms and stuck together, but went into the city to spend time with the locals. We were given 100 coins. She pointed to a wall. Still have one of them, as a reminder. Cool. Rainbow flew and hovered in front of it. So that's what this is all about. A coin? Spitfire sighed with her raspy voice as she leaned back into a chair. No, sit down, Rainbow. I'm just about to that part. So everything was going fine. Between the 5 of us, we got 20 coins and went to different market stalls for supper. Then met at a table we had to fight for. Did I ever tell you Minotaurs love to fight over almost everything? Rainbow nodded. I've met one, I believe it. Huh, alright then. Well, one left his food on the table, and I grabbed it from Windy Gale before she could eat it. I made a big show and got all the eyes on me while I challenged Soren to an eating contest. Some of the bystanders warned me, but I was Spitfire. I didn't need to worry about anything. Kinda sounds like another mare I know. She looked pointedly at Rainbow. So, we dug in and ate like there was no tomorrow. I ate my plate. There was paper, so I did, in fact, eat it. Then I did the same for Sunny Skies, the first. I should have stopped. I knew it. I felt full, but they were chanting my name and encouraging me. So I grabbed the Minotaur's dish and lifted it. The Minotaurs became rowdy, you could say. A lot were encouraging me. Some were shaking their heads and miming pain. I ate the thing in 4 bites. By the time I got to the 3rd bite, my stomach was gurgling, my throat was burning, and my tongue felt like I'd just decided to try a hot coal as chewing gum. The last bite I stuffed more on instinct because I thought it would douse the fire that had started. She looked sternly at Rainbow. It didn't. I fell to the ground, groaning and moaning. Everything went fine for a few seconds. The team pushed the Minotaurs back to give me air. And that's when it happened. Ah, poor Soren. She pressed her right forehoof between her eyes. He was behind me. I was naked, and the spices were from an enchanted bush, or tree, or something. I farted. Rainbow snarked through Spitfire's glare. Then again, and again. They started lasting longer and longer. The poor stone stood over me to give me some dignity when the spices really started to do their trick. You see, Dash, Minotaurs like to blow steam and smoke from their noses when challenging each other or just being intimidating. They usually can divide the spice into one of their 3 stomachs and release the spice at will to give them that effect. Ponies have 1 stomach, Dash. It all went through, and I, she blushed and looked away, started blowing fire like a sneezing dragon. I heard they still tell the story, and that they adapted it into a full storybook, The Mare with the Flare. I get royalties, so that's a bonus. She looked at Rainbow and cracked a smile. That's why I have my nickname, and only the bravest will bring it up because... She opened her top desk drawer and pulled out a thick pouch. I have the spice here, and can mix it into any meal I choose. Then I may just take a nap in that pony's bed. Do you know how long it takes to get the smell of this spice out of fabric? It doesn't. And if you think about telling the story, you might just find some in your chow. Then you know what? What's that, ma'am? The last mare that did it was stuck in a full body hoof and wing cast, drinking through a straw. That's why you don't mess with butt fire. Okay, Dash? Yes, ma'am. Good. Dismissed. Crash. Twilight Sparkle Falls in Love with Sand by Greenback. Before she had become the ruler of Equestria, Twilight had enjoyed having at least one day off a week between her studies, and all the various troubles that life threw her way. But now that she had ascended to the throne, her days off were few and far between, with an endless stream of disputes to settle, treaties to negotiate, and matters of state to attend to. Twilight could go months without having a day to herself. It wasn't until Spike presented a carefully researched presentation on how overwork negatively impacted the health, well-being and lifespan of workaholics that she finally agreed to a new schedule of having one day off a week. And to commemorate this new change, she and her number one assistant would enjoy a day at the beach. Now, standing before the sand, Twilight and Spike surveyed their playground. The sky was the cleanest, most vibrant blue imaginable. The sun was pleasantly warm, and the sea calmly came in and out upon the sand. Well, here we are, Spike said, the perfect place to kick back and relax. Yes, Twilight said with a noticeable lack of enthusiasm. Twilight, I know you want to work, but you promised that you... It's not work, Spike, Twilight said. It's... What? What is it? Twilight sighed. There was no way to confess her secret without sounding like a moron. It's the... sand. Sand? Yes, sand. To tell the truth, I've never liked it. Really? Is it because it's coarse, rough, irritating, and gets everywhere? Pretty much. Well, you can always teleport yourself to the water, Spike suggested. Or I can put a towel on the sand and you can teleport yourself to it. The thought was tempting, but Twilight dismissed it. That's okay, Spike. As the leader of Equestria, I have to set an example for my subjects and confront the things I don't like. She chuckled. Besides, it's just sand. How bad can it be? Spike grinned. That's the spirit. Now, come on. The surf's calling my name. Eagerly dashing down the beach, Spike didn't see Twilight hesitating for a moment before tentatively putting her hooves onto the sand. In years past, feeling the sand pouring over her hooves and getting tangled in her light layer of fur had felt so wrong. Buried deep within her, Twilight's younger self instinctively wanted to leap back and get away from the sand, lest she needed to take a long shower to get every last grain and pebble out from her most intimate areas. Yet, there was something about this sand that Twilight had never felt before. It seemed like a thing alive, warm and soothing. It felt almost like it was caressing her. Well, Twilight mused, this is new. Twilight, come on, Spike called. Another step and Twilight made her way through the sand, slowly at first, not wanting the sand to get too high up her legs. Yet, she then found herself starting to jog, quickly catching up with Spike as she put up a large beach umbrella between two towels. So, which towel do you want, Twilight? Actually, Spike, I'm going to go without a towel. What? Grinning, Twilight stopped her hooves in the sand. This sand is different, Spike. It's not like any sand I've ever encountered before. Really? How? I can't say. Twilight scooped up a hooful of sand, letting it trickle back down to the ground. It actually feels good, she smiled. Really, really good. Oh, well, that's great. Now, are you ready to have fun? You bet I am. My, Spike, if I had to guess, I'd think you had too much fun on your day off. Rarity joked as she walked down the halls of the palace beside Spike. He was rubbing his eyes and looking like he wanted nothing more than to be back in bed. It wasn't me, Rarity, Spike said, barely able to speak through his yawning. It was Twilight. She spent her whole day making sand castles, sand cities, sand towers, sand everything. She got so into it didn't stop until 5 this morning. Wait, really? Yeah, the guards and I kept trying to make her come to bed, but she just didn't. It was like she was obsessed. How peculiar, Rarity said. Being the sole ruler of Equestria was a stressful job, and Rarity expected Twilight to have some occasional displays of neurotic behaviour. While Twilight had managed to control those urges as the years went on, Rarity knew they would always be there, just waiting for the right moment to emerge again. Well, perhaps it's just a one-time thing, Rarity assured Spike. After all, Twilight has been under a lot of stress lately. She just wanted to make the most of her free time. Yeah, I suppose that's it. Yawning again, Spike took out a scroll and read through it, his stomach sinking the further down he went. Oh, it's going to be a long day. I'll have to ask the kitchens to keep brewing the coffee. Well, let's focus on getting the first thing off the list, Rarity suggested. I have Twilight's new dress ready. I can't wait to see her in it. Just imagine the princess of all Equestria wearing one of my most fabulous dresses when she greets ambassadors, royalty and commoner alike. Pushing the door to the royal throne room open, Rarity found Twilight at her throne, and something else that hadn't been present the last time she had visited. Twilight? Spike asked. What's with the sand? Giant mountains of sand filled the throne room, almost covering the stained glass windows. Only the lit chandeliers prevented the room from being submerged in darkness. Do you like it? Twilight asked as she clapped her hooves together. I thought the throne room could use a bit of a change. A few bits of sand slid onto the coronation carpet as Rarity struggled to make sense of what she was seeing. But why sand, darling? Why not some potted plants, or maybe some new curtains? If you want curtains, I can... Curtains? Who needs curtains, Rarity? We have sand! We can build sandcastles with commoners, or swim through it with kings and queens from other lands. With a swan dive that put Equestria's finest swimmers to shame, Twilight dove into the nearest pile of sand, her horn cutting through it like a shark's fin. Maybe later, Twilight. Spike brought up his itinerary. We have a lot of meetings to get through today. The Griffin ambassador will be here in 5 minutes and he... Twilight rose from the sand, shaking herself off. Oh, Spike, who cares about meetings? You were right. I worked too hard. Today is going to be dedicated to playing. In fact, everyone can play with me. All the guards and all the staff, we can all play in the sand. But, darling, Rarity said, what about your dress? The one you ordered specifically for the Oh, that can wait, Rarity. We can always get new dresses, but we will never gain back the time we don't spend playing in sand. With a cheer, Twilight once again dove into the sand and swam through it, laughing the laugh of the carefree. Spike and Rarity watched Twilight swimming through the sand-filled throne room. They glanced at each other. They said nothing as they backed up through the doorway. Twilight, Spike said. This is getting out of hand. We can't keep filling the palace with sand. Sitting at the far end of the table in the dining room, Twilight chuckled as she ate her dinner. Oh, Spike, you can never have enough sand. Her horn glowed, and more sand appeared beneath the table, bearing Twilight up to her waist, causing her to close her eyes and sigh like a soul that had found its place in the world. Twilight, look, can't you just designate one room of the palace as a sand room? The staff can barely get through the halls, and the medical wing is running out of cream for all the rashes and chafes, but don't worry, Spike. In time, everyone will get used to it, and they'll love sand too. But do you really have to put sand in all the bedrooms? I mean, I have to keep moving my bed up so it doesn't get buried. Who needs blankets and mattresses, Spike? We have sand. Shoving her chair back, Twilight sank deeper into the sand until only her head was uncovered. It's so warm, it embraces you, and it feels so good. Sighing, Twilight sank even deeper into the sand until only her horn was left, and then that too vanished. A waiter struggled through the sand and put a plate of hay burgers before Spike, trying and failing to discreetly brush sand off the buns. Guys, this is getting out of hand, Spike said. Twilight's gone mad. She's obsessed with sand. Applejack, Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Rainbow Dash, having received Spike's summons, stood before him and Rarity in Canterlot's Park, safely hidden inside one of the most remote gazebos. From the urgency of his words, they had thought that Twilight had been kidnapped, or that Equestria was being invaded yet again, or that the world was in peril from some magically endowed monster. But they hadn't expected this. You want to run that by us again? Rainbow Dash asked. It's all she ever talks about now, Spike said. She hasn't done any of her royal duties since we came back from vacation. All she does is keep filling the palace with sand and playing in it. Spike, is this a joke? Applejack asked. I got a whole bunch of apples that need to be picked and... I swear to you, Applejack, it most certainly is not, Rarity said. Spike's telling the truth. I've seen it myself. What did I tell you? Rainbow Dash said. I always knew Twilight would snap one day. But why sand? Spike said. Why not sand? Pinkie said. I mean, it's so cool. You can use it to build sandcastles, then smash them down and build them up again. It's so much fun. But not when she's supposed to be running the country, darling, Rarity said. I think she's been cursed by some spell, and we have to free her from it. The air popped as Discord materialized above the worried ponies. I think I can help with that. Oh no, Applejack groaned. Let me guess, this is all you're doing, Discord. Guilty as charged. When I learned that Twilight was going to the beach last week, I thought it was the perfect opportunity to help her get over her distaste of sand. So I turned invisible, waited until she stepped on it, then cast an enchantment to make her fall in love with sand. He giggled. Oh, it worked perfectly, and it has been most enjoyable watching her fawn over sand like she would the most handsome stallion in all of Equestria. It might have been funny for a day or two, Fluttershy said, but it has to stop. Sighing, Discord nodded. I suppose you're right, dear. It was fun, but alas, all good things must come to an end. Raising his hand, Discord snapped his fingers, smiling at knowing that one of his silliest and most clever pranks that reached a successful conclusion. Then his smile turned into a frown. Discord? Fluttershy asked. Discord snapped his fingers again, then again. Oh no! What's wrong? Spike asked, trying his hardest to ignore the crater-sized hole that had just opened in his gut. The enchantment. It's not going away. Not going away? What do you mean not going away? The enchantment must have grown so strong that it is now bound to Twilight's very soul, Discord said. I regret to say that Twilight will now want nothing in life but sand. That desire will consume her to a degree you cannot even imagine. Everyone was silent. Are you freaking kidding me? Spike said. This is a disaster, Rarity shrieked. The ruler of all Equestria wants nothing but sand and will ignore all her other duties until the country falls into chaos. Anarchy will reign. Everything falls apart. Oh, I like the sound of that, Discord said. Fluttershy glared at him. But On second thought, that might be going a bit too far. I'm afraid the only course of action you have now is to use the elements of harmony, wipe the spell from her very soul, and restore our beloved princess to her old self. Spike and the others ran to the royal palace, where Spike grabbed hold of the doors and yanked them open, only to be almost knocked off his feet as sand poured out. "Come on!" Spike yelled, his superior dragon strength letting him force his way through into the palace, the others following him into the darkened interiors of the palace. The air was saturated with the stench of dry, stale sand that flowed like rushing water. The smell choked everyone as they fought through hallways, trying their hardest not to be thrown off their hooves. "Where is she?" Rainbow Dash yelled, struggling to be heard over the roar of sand grinding against the walls. Laughter drifted through the halls. "Her bedroom," Spike said. "This way." The six struggled long and hard until they reached the staircase leading up to Twilight's chambers. Here the sand finally stopped, allowing them to get back on solid ground and charge upwards to the bedroom door. Normally guarded by two of Canterlot's most elite guards, they were nowhere to be seen. "Okay everyone," Spike said. "Here we go. You all ready?" The others nodded, their own respective elements brought out and ready for action. The door was kicked open, and Spike charged inside, only to be immediately bogged down by a tidal wave of sand that knocked him off his feet. Behind him, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy grabbed hold of Rarity and Pinkie Pie, lifting them up. Applejack, though old, still had her Earth Pony strength and managed to hold onto a pillar to keep herself from being swept away. The sand stirred as Twilight emerged from beneath the surface, serene, confident and blissful. Her eyes opened, sand trickling off her eyelashes as she studied her friends. "Twilight, listen to me!" Spike yelled. "Discord cursed you! He enchanted the sand at the beach to make you love it!" Twilight chuckled. "Oh, Spike, I am no longer Twilight Sparkle. I am now Sandy Sanderson, Empress of all sand." "What?" A glow enveloped Twilight as she floated above the sand that flowed and swirled throughout the room. "I was wrong, Spike. Friendship isn't magic. Sand is magic. Sand is love. Sand is life. Sand is everything." Everyone was speechless. It was a few moments before Rainbow Dash found her voice. "Okay, anyone else getting creeped out?" "Do not be afraid, Rainbow Dash," Twilight said. "You too will come to love sand." "Right, that does it," Spike said. "Twilight, I'm sorry, but we have to." Twilight's horn glowed and the elements of harmony were yanked off Spike's neck and the necks of the others. Metal, stone and crystal turned to sand and fell, joining the ocean of sand that continued to swirl around the room. Did anyone have a plan B?" Fluttershy whispered. "I was lost, but now I am found," Twilight said, unfazed by the fact that her friends had tried to use the elements on her. "My eyes have been awakened to the wonders of sand." Tendrils of sand rose up. "And now, my friends, you too shall be enlightened!" Spike yelled as he was grabbed by one of the sand tendrils and dragged beneath the swirling sand in the room, quickly followed by the others. Their shocked screams drowned out beneath Twilight's laughter. Ponyville, one of the most charming communities to be found in all Equestria, was no more. Only a few days ago, it had been a charming community where everyone lived in peace, children played in the streets without fear, and anyone could sing songs and play with bunny rabbits all day long. Now it was buried under 50 feet of sand. So too was the ever-free forest in the surrounding areas. Tidal waves of sand had washed over them all, and claims the buildings, trees and their residents. It was not just the land around Ponyville. Manhattan had been claimed too, washed away by endless waves of sand that not only buried all the skyscrapers, but the oceans as well. The Crystal Empire was now the Sand Empire. Kludgetown? Well, there wasn't much that had changed in Kludgetown, as it had already been mostly sand. But now it was even sandier. In every land, in every continent, cities, towns and settlements were vanishing beneath waves of sand pouring forth from Canterlot, and it was towards Canterlot that a single airship flew in at attack speed. From the cockpit, Queen Chrysalis, leader of the last desperate alliance of peoples who had not been buried in sand, now directed their last-ditch effort to save the world. Attack! Armies of changelings, ponies, yaks, griffins, and even bat ponies all dropped from the airship into the capital of Equestria. Each was armed with the best armor, the best weapons, the most powerful anti-sand enchantments that unicorns had been able to muster. A crystal glowed before Chrysalis. She tapped the surface, and a magical projection of Turek appeared. Turek! Report! Screams came from behind Turek. Chrysalis could just make out what looked like tendrils of sand snatching everyone and dragging them into the ever-increasing mass of the accursed sand. And then Turek was grabbed. He fought, but even his enormous muscles were helpless against the combined might of tons of sand.
Chrysalis!
He screamed.
The sand! There's too much of it! It's too powerful!
Shut up about sand! Just get to the palace and... Another wave of sand washed over Turek, burying him and silencing his screams. Curses! Chrysalis threw the crystal aside and yanked on her battle helmet. Must I do everything myself? With wings beating, the changeling queen kicked open a door and rocketed towards Canterlot. Twilight Sparkle! She yelled. Come forth and face me! All the sand in Canterlot came together and rose high above the city, growing until a literal mountain of sand towered above the Chrysalis. A small hole appeared in the mountain. Twilight floated out, only now her skin was gritty and coarse, and her eyes now glowed a magical beige. Princess! Chrysalis yelled. Stop this sand nonsense immediately! Twilight smiled. Sand? Yes, sand! You are ruining everything with your love of the cursed material. You! Others emerged from the mountain of sand. Chrysalis recognized them. They were the princess's accursed friends, and now their eyes glowed like Twilight's, and sand constantly flowed from their bodies as they floated beside the Empress of all sand. Sand! Twilight said. Sand! Spike said. Sand! The others said in unison. Twilight stretched her arms wide as if wanting to hug Chrysalis. Sand! Sand shot out and enveloped Chrysalis. She yelled, trying to fight her way free as the sand hardened around her. Sand! Twilight said. Will you shut up about sand? Chrysalis yelled, but the sand engulfed her as she opened her mouth to yell again, and the queen was encased in a warm, gritty tomb. Fluttershy turned to Applejack. Sand? Applejack nodded back. Sand. Chrysalis broke free from her tomb, her eyes now glowing beige. Sand! Yelled, weeping in joy as she embraced the sand that held her, wanting to hug it all day long. Sand! The others smiled. Sand! With a contented sigh, Chrysalis dissolved, her body, her essence, her very soul becoming one with sand. Nodding her approval, Twilight Sparkle's horn glowed, and she too dissolved into the mountain. Her friends joined her, sighing in bliss as they returned to the sand. The mountain of sand dissolved and fell into the valley below, where it resumed flowing through the land. All was silent as wind softly blew over the deserts of Equus. There were no trees standing, no leaves for the wind to rustle. Not even a cactus could be seen upon the sand that stretched from one pole to another, that covered every continent and filled in every ocean. To any observer, this would be a dead world, a lifeless world, a sandy world. At a remote and unremarkable part of the planet, Empress Sandy Sanderson rose from the sand, using it to create a temporary body for herself as she surveyed her work. This world had once been infested with trees, grass, plant life, ice, fire, lava, rock, and oceans. Cleansing and purifying it had been no easy feat, but she had accomplished it, and with it had brought true equality to all. There was no war, no conflicts, strife, suffering, or pain. There was only sand. Sandy Sanderson wanted to laugh. Starlight Glimmer had been hopelessly naive when she believed that she could achieve true equality by taking away everyone's cutie mark, unaware that sand was the only truth in an uncaring world. But it didn't matter now. Starlight was one with sand, as were all the ponies, dragons, changelings, yaks, and other species, all resting peacefully with sand's loving embrace. Given time, Sandy Sanderson might try to head to other worlds to spread the gospel of sand. Now ageless and formless, she had all of eternity to bring true equality and unity to the cosmos. Those dreams came to an end as a bright flash of green shot into the sand. With a flash bright enough to illuminate the cosmos, if only for a moment. Equus exploded, hurling the planet's molten remains into the icy void of space. Nearby, a grey metallic sphere in the void. Within its control room, a man in a grey uniform watched the scene. "The planet has been destroyed, Lord Vader." Darth Vader, the Dark Lord of the Sith, said nothing as he pulled his hand away from the control panel and left the room, leaving behind nothing but a few particles of the thing he hated more than anything else to drift forever within the endless void. You Comfort Fluttershy by Little Owl. 121 122 123. As you sit and watch the numbers change on your digital clock, your frustration at your awake and yet paradoxically exhausted brain increase as sleep strays further and further away from you. Damn insomnia. It was something you've had all your life, but recently was becoming a major issue. Initially you think that it won't be a problem as you close your eyes, to take joy from the simple pleasure of having your mind completely shut off from the world, ready to be full of beans and raring to tackle the morning ahead. That's when the minutes start to tick by, about 10 or 15 to be exact, before you realise that you aren't asleep. In fact, you aren't even tired, and you realise that all this time you've been forcing your eyes closed. Some nights you would toss and turn, searching for that sweet spot for your brain to go, "Enough! Sleep now!" But you can never find it until you wake up the next morning realizing you only got about 2 hours sleep in said position. But the worst nights are when you just lie there, still, as if in purgatory, eyes wide open as your clock continues to pass the minutes by as you stare at it, deafening you with its monotonous rhythmic ticking that should be enough to put you to sleep if you weren't so wide awake. Not helping matters is the storm outside. The rain could be relaxing if you were in a especially tired mindset, But on sleepless nights like these, it's nothing but a nuisance. You look out towards the window, completely obscured by the dark, though you could see the outlines of little droplets trickling on the windowsill, ending in a small puddle at the bottom. This eventually becomes completely obscured by the vapor misting the window, and you are left once more with nothing to direct your open, wide eyes towards. The brain buzz continues to keep your eyes open. Part of you thinks about turning the lights on and reading a book to help relax you. Options included a bevy of ones Twilight gave you, before realizing that you have already read all of those during previous occasions of restlessness. However, there was that one book Fluttershy gave you on animals you haven't read yet. Maybe that would be an option. Fluttershy. Just the thought of that name already developed a fog of happy, relaxing thoughts in your brain. There was just something about her, as much of a cliche as it sounds, but not even all the wonderful traits that you could name just off the top of your head. It was just her aura, her presence. Just her being in the same room as her is enough to increase your heartbeat and make you feel a warm sensation inside. As these delightful thoughts caress your brain, you feel your extremities lower themselves against the covers. No conscious instructions necessary. A blink. Another blink. There is still hope. It's only 1:30 in the morning. You can get a half-decent 7.5 hours sleep before you have to get up for work. Such desperation to not spend your working day a sleep-deprived zombie will surely be enough to get you to sleep. You rustle in your covers, pulling your crumpled sheets back over your end of the mattress. You fluff your pillow, making a neatly woven place for your head and the pillow to do the rest as it consumes you with its blissful fluff. Yes, that was a blink. Now is the moment as you lay your head down, getting one last glimpse of the world. But just when you're about to open your eyes, you hear the turning of the knob and the very slow squeak of your door moving inwards towards your room. You feel like swearing every demeaning profanity at this newcomer that has just ruined your final chance at a good sleep. You're about to give them a piece of your mind until a singular yellow hoof is placed on the front of the door, and you can hear a slight tremble as Fluttershy moves her head around the door, the bottom of her teal eyes barely visible as she peers round to reach your gaze as the red mist swelling inside of you fades into an aura of confusion and concern. You smile warmly towards her as she opens her adorable little mouth to speak. "Oh, sorry," she says quietly, as if to salvage some of the quiet in the room so that you can return to sleep, only to realize just how fully awake you are. "I hope I didn't wake you. I know how difficult and rare it is for you to get a good sleep. I sincerely hope I didn't interrupt one of those." You can't help smiling at her. Though her timid nature hindered her confidence, it made her a very considerate and sensitive pony. For all her flaws, there were traits that gravitate you towards her. Your smile fades, however, when she starts to speak once more with a slight tremble. I just came in because..." She seems to struggle to get the words out. I trust you, and I thought the only way I could feel better was if I came to you. Something about you just being there. I thought it would be enough to make me feel better." Your smile grows broader as her face lights up slightly as she continues. "You probably want to know why I'm here," she continues sheepishly, turning her face away slightly. "You see, I had a nightmare." Your face quickly falls to deep concern as your heart twists in your chest as you stare at your dear friend. No wonder she seems so upset. Every part of your human instinct tells you to reach your arms out towards her and hold her close. You even feel droplets forming in your eyes, before suddenly realizing that she was the one who was upset. It's not about you anymore. You don't care about falling asleep. Instead, it's about being there for your friend, and not just any friend, but one that's connection with you is firm and true. A friend whose kind personality and natural beauty only make you care for her as equally as you know she cares for you. Here she is, silent and scared, but also the radiant Fluttershy that was so very much worth protecting. I tried going back to sleep, but I was just too scared. She then blushes ever so slightly. Could I possibly, stay with you, at least for a little bit? Then I promise I'll go back to sleep. You nod. She could stay for the entire night as far as you were concerned. Anything to make her feel better. You motion for her to come towards. Fluttershy climbs in with you, her pink and yellow appearance adding a splash of colour to your boring white covers. You hold an arm up as she scooches closer towards you, and then lower it tentatively before softly making contact with her soft yet delicate touch. You feel her silky pink mane slide down against your sides as she leans her head against it and shyly wraps a hoof around your ribs, before a stifled, nervous sigh leads her breath. Thank you. I really needed this, she says quietly, glancing her eyes to the door, almost as if she is checking to see if the nightmares aren't following her. The sadness and worry you feel inside towards your friend is simply palpable. Whatever the dream was, it scared her good. You can confidently say you have never seen Fluttershy, such a timid and fragile soul as she is, in such a state. You feel helpless, as all you can do is hold her in your arms. Your mind tells yourself to ask if talking about the dream will help, but decide against it in fear of bringing up harmful memories of the clearly unpleasant dream. She came to you so you could chase the nightmares away, not bring them up again. However, talking about them and getting a sense of perspective for them would help you be able to comfort her more, telling her that there's no such thing as the monstrous imaginary figment her dream came up with. Plus, it could give her a sense of perspective, a realization that dreams are in no way real, to the point where she would consider herself silly for even thinking that dreams are real. She could never be silly, not to you, except for the fact that she trusts all of you people. You stir at her speaking once more. You are probably the only one I can talk to about this. I trust you. You wonder for a split second if she had just read your thoughts. You conclude that it was just coincidental. However, you wouldn't be so surprised if she did read your mind. Over the time you have known her, you have gained an almost telepathic connection with her. She knows how much you need to hear that she trusts you, and just how much you know that what she needs is someone to listen to her, but also give her a push so she will have the strength to be more confident, especially when it came to talking about emotions. It's moments like these that you realize the true extent of you and hers very strong bond, despite the fact you have known each other for a brief amount of time. You hear Fluttershy inhale deeply as she was able to speak out her biggest and darkest secret. Well, I should probably tell you about the dream. It went like this. I was playing with Angel. You remember my little bunny? At first I thought it was a good dream. Everything was so bright and vibrant and sunny, and we were playing in the springtime flowers. She smiled dully before her face fell to a sure frown once more. But then the dark clouds gathered above us. An angel started running. I couldn't stop her before she reached the everfree forest. I called out for Angel, but I couldn't find him anywhere. That's when I turned and saw two very big bunnies behind me. Only two at first, but then there were multiple, and they began surrounding me. She starts to shudder as her voice begins to break. They started calling me a murderer as the thunder got louder and louder. And that's when the dream ended. I woke up in a hot sweat and she begins crying, quietly but with uncontainable despair, burying her face into your chest as you quickly held her in one hand and went to stroke her mane in the other. Looking for any way to comfort her, you have to check that she can breathe properly as you squeeze her close to you, never wanting to let go of the sobbing mare. You cannot stand seeing her like this. You will not stand to see her like this. You will be the knight in shining armor she deserves. Chasing away the nightmares so she can sleep and return to a happy, caring self. This mare, it hurts to think about how much you love her. Yes, love her. You care too much about her to not feel this way. She moves her head to over your shoulder and wraps a tight hoof around your neck. Your tears flowing freely as much as Fluttershy's as you start to hear her breathing heavy, stifled breaths, drawn with anxiety and fear. This goes on for a good minute or two. Then her breathing slows, so consumed by the adrenaline of care, you don't fully feel the overwhelming warmth of Fluttershy's fur pressed against you during the embrace. Part of you feels it is necessary to let go and have some space to breathe. You do not want to let go, not until you are sure she is alright, until you feel Fluttershy's mane brush over your shoulder and against your ear as her head recedes and centers itself to meet your gaze. Her eyelashes glistening with the moisture of her tears, but through all of this you can see, faintly but very clearly, a sweet smile spread across her lips. The more she stares into you, threatens for more tears to emit. No, don't you dare say what you're about to say. I'm sorry. You once again press her towards you, your chest cushioning the sheer force of your arms, thrusting her head closer towards you. What could she be sorry for? I just woke you up in the middle of the night, just so I could come to you for pity, like the scared filly that I feel like I am sometimes. Fluttershy says once more, breathing steadying. You cannot believe what you are hearing. You have seen the progress she has made from being that scared filly she once was, to a capable and caring friend. Admittedly though, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. In fact, the both of you have had countless nights of consoling, trying to get over horrible nightmare after nightmare. But you don't care. There is nothing, and not just nightmares, but in this world, you think that is worth causing Fluttershy harm. No matter how silly the thing she is worrying about might be, you will help her through it. Yes, she has grown more and more capable as time has gone on to the point where she needs your help less and less. Doesn't mean you won't give it to her when the poor mare does need help. Of course, you don't want to coddle her, but you don't need to, because she always gets through it. And out from the debris of whatever obstacle she faces, she always comes out the wonderful Fluttershy she always is and always will be. As the both of you lay there, you subconsciously find yourself forgetting your own problems about falling asleep. Thoughts instead focused on the now, shuddering less and less. Pink and yellow mare in your arms. You don't realize it, but you feel exhausted, though you would do it any day of the week. Feeling sorry for another is draining. All the adrenaline of pity, your own tears developing at the sight of another's. It's enough to knock a person out. Eventually realizing this, you begin to relax as Fluttershy releases herself from you, sniffling quietly. You really do care, don't you? She asks softly, before giggling at the sight of your facial expression. You're doing that cute thinking face you do. What are you thinking about? But she doesn't get an answer from you, as you just lay there, eyes wide open, for really you aren't thinking. Instead you are feeling the aura of warmth within the room, having just had a heart-to-heart with Fluttershy. I love you. A quiet voice is heard beside you. Immediately you blush hot pink. A rush of warmth comes to her cheeks as well. It's true, and just you and me alone here reminded me of why. Your heart is pure, and I truly believe you care for me. And you want to know the amazing thing? You don't even do anything. From just you being there, I can tell just how much I mean to you, and how badly you want to chase away those horrible nightmares. You are my hero. You turn away with a modest look on your face. Honestly, to you, caring for another is simply too important to overlook. It's a common courtesy to show one how much they mean to you before your time together runs out. To care for another is something everyone should strive to do each and every day of their existence. What you just did for Fluttershy feels like common sense. Furthermore, you didn't even need to think about said emotions. They just came naturally. Maybe they wouldn't come so easily if you were comforting anyone else. Fluttershy had that effect of evoking empathy from others, but you still needed to feel them. A part of your brain still needed to clock that Fluttershy was upset and she needed someone, anyone to be there for her. You did what you had to do, and in some way it helped you with your problems as well. Hey, the cute soft voice spoke, once again chirps up, tugging you gently by the shoulder. I'm feeling a lot better now, but she yawns and giggles afterwards. I'm a bit too tired to get back to my own bed, so I was wondering if maybe to fix my predicament, I could... Well, she shuffles closer to you and wraps her hoof on your midsection. Stay with you tonight, plus I really don't want to be alone, and you are pretty comfy to snuggle. Your only response is a sweet smile. She lifts herself upwards as you shuffle around in the covers, trying to make yourself comfortable, lowering your body so it is lying flatly on the bed, the pillow propped downwards, tilted ever so slightly by the rest on the end of your bed. Fluttershy meanwhile lies on her side next to you, propping a hoof up on her head as she stares at you lovingly. You comforted me. I think it's time I return the favour. She then frowns into a pondering expression. I know positive affirmations. If it's for you, then it should be easy. Now, just relax. You exhale a sigh and purposefully close your eyes to relax to Fluttershy's soothing voice as you hear the light get turned off as Fluttershy leans ever so closely to your ear. Words cannot describe how wonderful I think you are, but I figure you would like me to try. Honestly, if you ever think that you are not a nice person or someone worthy of a pony like me, then remember what you just did for me tonight. Your kindness knows no bounds, and your always optimistic persona is enough to keep even the most depressed pony in a mindset that life is worth living. Because without you around, I cannot imagine what life would be like. You are also brave, funny, and so caring. I don't know anybody else like you. You are one of a kind, and you embrace your individuality as someone who just loves being himself. And do not think this goes unrecognized. I've had many conversations about you with the girls and others. Every single one of them agrees that their lives have become so much better since you entered them. I can happily say that I am one of those ponies with an insight to that amazing brain of yours. I feel like I have such a special connection with you, and I would never give that up for anything in the world. We can read each other like books. I feel like I know exactly what you are thinking and vice versa. I don't think I'll share that kind of bond with anyone else except for you. You are special to me and to others, and even if you have to be told it 1,000,000 times over, because let's be honest, you do doubt yourself a lot, I am still more than willing to tell it, because when you love someone as much as I love you, you will do anything to see them smile. You faintly hear her wipe away tears before leaning towards you and brushing her lips against your cheek as you are sent into a blissful shiver as your consciousness starts to fade. I love you, and I will always love you, no matter what happens. I will never forget what you did for me tonight. Good night, my love. I Am Human, and That's All I Want to Be, by Lord Octavian Stark, who is not a brony. There you stand, chains and all. You walk down one of the many corridors of the Canterlot Castle. You are worried. In the 5 years you have been in Equestria, you've only been in chains twice. Now today marks the 3rd. You are trying to think of any reason to why you were arrested, but your mind draws blank after blank. You are so deep in concentration that you don't see the wall you walked into. It bloodens your nose, but other than that you are fine. The guards then push you in the right direction, rather forcefully you note. Whenever you try to make eye contact with the guards, they turn away. What can I expect? I've been here years and never once has any pony treated me with respect other than the princesses. You soon find your bearings. The corridor in which you walk within is the one that leads to the throne room. Maybe this is just an audience. No, I've been here plenty of times, and the last time I was here in chains was... What? 4 years ago? You think to yourself as the door begins to open. Inside stands Celestia, Luna, Cadence, Twilight, Rarity, Applejack, Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, and Pinkie Pie. They are your only friends in this world. You smile at them, but then you remember your current situation. You glance over all of them. Most stare back, but Luna, your greatest friend and companion, turns away to break eye contact. Just like the guards. This worries you deeply. You then turn to Celestia as she rises from her throne, her white fur glistening from the sun's rays, and her ethereal mane still flowing in the non-existent breeze. Hello, Anon. I am deeply sorry about the restraints, but they are just a precaution, she spoke.
A precaution? What would warrant such a thing?
You spoke. Your voice sounded of both anger and concern. You deepen your gaze at the rest of the group. Celestia, you've known me years. Have I ever once proven to be a danger in situations that were not self-defense? No, Anon. You cut her sentence short. Then why the chains? I am not an animal. I am a human being. You shouted. Almost everyone in the room retracted due to the outburst, all but Celestia, who remained her stoic look. Since you have lived here, Anon, you have been subject to ridicule and disdain. I would like to think that ponykind is above that, but sadly we are not. I want to protect you, Anon. I don't want you to spend the remainder of your life cooped up in here. But if I were to let you out, the world would know of your existence. Countries would do their best to capture you for the information you possess. Then, when that is done, you will most likely be experimented on until death. I refused to let that happen, so I had Princess Twilight develop a spell. Her voice calms your anger. You begin to feel at ease. What is this spell? You ask, your voice clear of all anger and distraught. Twilight steps forward. She prepares to speak, but was prevented to by Celestia. In order to protect you from the world, Twilight has developed a spell that will allow you to become a member of ponykind, she says. You are concerned by her hesitation in wording. She acts as if the spell will kill me. What? I'll be able to turn into a pony whenever I want? You ask. Concern lurks in your voice. No, Anon, the spell is permanent. It will wipe all humanity from you, Celestia says. The guards then step closer to you, as if they assumed you were going to retaliate at the words. But you didn't retaliate. Instead, you stood there, unable to process the words Celestia had just spoken moments ago. She was going to rid you of all and any humanity, the species you were so proud of, the species that since the day you were born you were told was the greatest to ever exist. You dropped to your knees, unable to talk or think. The guards on your side began to grab your chains to hold you in place. You glanced to Luna with eyes that had just lost all will to live. When you make eye contact with Luna, you can see in her eyes the sadness that this has caused her. The rest of the group looks away in shame. Celestia began to walk down the stairs that led to the thrones of the royal sisters. Luna never moves from her spot. Instead, she just stared at her hooves. When Celestia was almost upon you, you panicked. You flailed and thrashed your body around, hoping that Celestia would change your mind. She stopped when she was no more than 2 feet away. She began to tilt her horn down. That's when you reacted. You did a violent jerk of your body, freeing you from the grip of the guard on your left. You flung yourself behind the guard that still had your chain in his mouth. You grabbed the dagger the guard possessed and pointed it to his throat. Unlock the chains, you said in monotoned voice. Celestia stood unfaltering. I said, unlock the chains. You pressed the blade harder against the neck of the guard, causing a small trail of blood to leak. Celestia complied with a small nod as one of the many guards in the room began to unlock your cuffs. Once free, you stood up, still keeping an arm around the guard's throat and the dagger to his neck. When I leave this room, I want you to close the door and lock it, understood? Celestia once again only nodded in response. When you left the throne room, you waited until the doors began to close. When they shut fully, you shook the pommel of the dagger and struck it over the guard's head, successfully knocking him unconscious. You then turned in some random direction and ran. Your head start didn't do much as Rainbow Dash was hot on your tail. Every turn you made only brought you a small amount of time before the Cyan Pegasus was upon you again. As you continued to run, you began hearing the sound of beating hooves against the marble surface. Your mind began to fear the worst after your last turn led you to the dead end. You turned to face your followers. It was the elements, Celestia and her contingent of guards. You noted that Luna was absent from the party. You continued to back up until you reached the balcony You glanced behind you to see the 14-story drop. You turned back to the growing group of ponies. Then you repeated, each time taking the fall as a better end than being a horse. You climb over the rails, but making sure you are well balanced and grounded. Stay back! I'll jump! I swear I will! Your body begging your mind to reconsider the idea as your legs become shaky. Celestia began to speak once more. Why? Is it truly worth it? She sounded hurt, as if you had broke her heart. Why? You asked, contemplating the meaning to the question yourself. Because this is my life and I only get one. Let me have my life! Celestia, for the first time in a very long time, was taken aback. This is for your own good. I cannot. You cut her short once more. Then allow this to be the last choice I make! You then let go of the railing. The fall seemed prolonged. Maybe you had misjudged the height. You turn to see Rainbow Dash on your side. She tries to grab you, but you push her away. She stared at you and said something. You couldn't hear her due to the wind. But you can only assume it was along the line of, why? Because I am human, and that's all I want to be. She followed you down until veering off at the last second. A Human's Guide to Surviving Equestria by Arcanum Fantasy. Day 7. Hey, my name is James Falcon. To the next human that finds this journal, let me tell you two things. 1. You are absolutely fucked. 2. You're probably the luckiest son of a bitch out there. Why? Because I am going to tell you what you need to know in order to survive out here. If you've found this, then you've likely already got shelter covered, since the ponies don't like coming down into the sewers all that much. Yeah, I know. It smells like shit and piss down here. But it's a hell of a lot better than whatever flavour of hell the ponies have up their sleeves. As for food, the dumpsters behind the building that looks like a giant cake has some pretty good stuff. But it's also where you've got the highest risk of getting caught. I don't know how, but there's a pink pony that lives there that can fucking pop up out of literally nowhere. Trust me, getting away from her is harder than trying to bust concrete with a toothpick. So, use that place as a last resort when you're looking for food. The safer option is to try taking apples from the town orchard or putting together some kind of weapon to hunt for food in the nearby forest. Just make sure to get the apples at night and watch out for the wood wolves in the forest. Yeah, you read that right. Trust me, you don't want to fuck with those things. You can get water from the local lakes, or when it rains, just make sure to boil it before you decide to store it. I made that mistake, and let's just say it's a damn good thing I'm already where the shit ends up. If you need blankets or materials for fixing up your clothes, there's a shop that looks like a merry-go-round that occasionally throws out pieces of cloth or old clothes. Should be a lot safer to get them if the pink one isn't on your trail. Those are the basics, but if anything else comes up, I'll be sure to add them to this as needed. Day 10. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Okay, let me tell you this straight out. Do not go near the cottage by the forest. That goes double if you see a yellow Pegasus there. Like a fucking idiot, I let her sucker me into coming into her house. When I was there, I was surrounded by all kinds of animals, and when I say all kinds, I mean all kinds. There was a fucking grizzly bear in there, for Christ's sake. When I tried to nope the flying fuck out of there, this rabbit tried to block the door. When I knocked the little shit out of the way, Yellow came into the room and, well, I'd say she yelled at me, but she really just whispered really loudly at me. Anyway, then she gave me this look and I don't know. It felt like that look your mum gives you when you're like 6 and you did something bad. I had to bite my tongue pretty damn hard to snap out of whatever gear she had on me. Then I decked her and ran out of there before her pets could turn me into dinner. I think she has some kind of dominate mind power or something. Just make sure you keep your distance from her house, and if you see her, you better fucking haul ass if you don't want to end up as her pet. Day 17. You know how I said yellow was bad? Well, turns out there's a worse Pegasus flying around out there. One that flies really fucking fast. There isn't a lot of advice I can give you about this one aside from, if you see a rainbow moving around in the sky, start hauling ass. She's light blue, has rainbow hair, and has a mean right hook. Trust me, you do not want to get decked by this bitch. Not if you don't want to lose a few teeth anyway. It took me an hour of agony to get my jaw popped back into place when I shook her off. I guess moving that fast makes it hard for her to keep track of you if you fake her out quick enough. It also helps if you know all of the tricky ways to get in and out of the sewers. I'm probably going to have to start making a map of the place to help out anyone that ends up here. Day 23. Well, my arm's broken. Why? Because I'm a fucking idiot and the orchard has a family of really angry ponies. To put it simply, stick to picking apples in the lower branches and as far away from the farmhouse as humanly possible. That way, you don't get spooked by a dog and end up falling out of the damn tree. I did. Screamed like a fucking bitch when I landed and had to run from a bunch of pissed off hick ponies. They weren't quite as fast as Blue, but they were pretty damn close. I had to risk running through the forest with the wood walls to get away from them. Now, I have no idea how the hell I'm going to fix my arm. I'm not a doctor, so I'm actually pretty freaked out now. Do I try to deal with this or take my chances with the ponies? I don't know. Day 25. My arm still hurts. It's starting to turn ugly colors around my shoulder. What does that mean? I'm scared. Why the hell am I here? I want to go home. What the hell did I do to deserve this shit? I miss my family. Will I die out here? I don't want to die here. I want to go home. Day 27. Alright, so ponies may be dangerous, but zebras are safe. Well, the one that lives in the forest is at least. I ran into her one night while I was scavenging for food near the forest. After what happened with Yellow, I was a bit leery to trust her, but since I was dead either way, I decided to give her a chance. Her name was Zakora, and she's a shaman that lives in the forest. She's pretty nice, if a bit quirky with the whole talking in rhymes thing. She gave me this shit-tasting potion that fixed my arm, along with a few other things I can use if I get hurt again in the future. When I asked her why she lived out in the forest, she told me it was because the place reminded her of her home country and had a whole bunch of useful herbs that didn't grow anywhere else in Equestria. Yeah, that's what this country is called. Just roll with it. This made her not very popular in town. When I told her that I could relate, she agreed to help me in any way that she could. So if you see a zebra with a bunch of tribal stuff on walking around the forest, know that she's at least trustworthy. Day 35. As bad as Pegasuses and regular ponies are, unicorns are way, way, way worse. When I was getting some cloth out of the merry-go-round's trash, the pony living there caught me. The psycho started floating a bat around and nearly took my fucking head off. Yeah, they can do that apparently. Luckily, there's a way into the sewers near her place, so I managed to avoid getting turned into a piñata. I'm going to have to find another place to get thread or things to patch up my clothes for a while. Fan-fucking-tastic. Day 41. Stay the hell away from the tree in the middle of town. Why? 3 words. Fire-breathing dragon! Yeah, there are fucking dragons in this world. As if my life wasn't already shit to begin with, I went there to see if there was anything I could salvage from the trash cans near it. Turns out there's some kind of house or something. Don't ask me how, because I have no clue. Anyway, I guess I made a little too much noise, and the little guy came out and caught me. Sure, he was like a foot tall, but he still managed to puke out enough fire to be a problem. If I didn't use the bin as a shield at the last second, I wouldn't be writing this right now. After I threw what was left of the can at him, I took off as fast as I could. So yeah, unless you're desperate, do not try to get anything from that place. Day 55. Unicorns can track you. I don't know how, but they can. I was going through the sewers one day to see if I could find more hidden passageways when I started hearing voices. I looked around the corner and found all of the ponies that wanted my ass on a platter so far, talking to some purple unicorn. Good thing I was already in the sewers, because I nearly shat myself when I saw them. That got even worse when I heard the purple one say something about a tracking spell and started moving towards me. If this happens, just start running. The sewers are practically a maze, so if you know it well enough, you'll be able to trip this unicorn up. Do not head towards the shelter unless you're ready to move to a new location. Thankfully, Zecora is more than willing to give me a place to hide for a few days. I just hope I don't end up leading these psychos towards her. She really doesn't deserve to have that crap dumped on her lap. Day 63. Included in this journal is a set of instructions on how to brew a dreamless sleep tea. Use it! Apparently, there's a super rare type of pony called an alicorn, and one of them can enter your dreams. I do not want to think about what kind of shit these things plan to do to me if they get in my head. Hell, maybe they already have. That was probably what made me give Yellow a chance in the first place. This should keep me from getting fucked with any more than I've already been. But it's probably too late to begin with. I'm going to see if Zecora has anything to fix any damage the dream horse could have done to me. If there is, then I'll include it into the back of the journal. Day 68. They found my shelter. Luckily, I kept the journal on me at the time, so they don't know about all the stuff in here. But now I'm going to have to find a new place to set up shop. Hopefully, the guards running around don't know the sewers as well as I do. Day 73. I almost got caught again. It wasn't the armoured ponies from a few days ago, it was the Purple's gang. This time, Blue and Pink tried to corner me in the forest, but Zecora showed me a few really good hiding places that managed to trip them up. Once I got back into the sewers, I just had to deal with one of the farmer ponies trying to track me down when she cornered me. I lobbed a glob of something in the water at her and hauled ass. When I made it to an opening, Purple and the sewing pony tried to get the drop on me. This is why I suggest setting up a few surprises around the opening of your shelter. Because as soon as Purple tried to do something with her horn, I lit a match and dropped it on the ground. Why? Because the ground there was soaked with a super flammable tree sap from the forest. Just make sure you don't dump the shit too close to the opening. Made that mistake and now I need to rub some burn cream onto my legs. Great. Day 77. I think this is going to be my last entry. The ponies got real smart and have managed to corner me at Zecora's place. I'm all out of tricks. My legs are still pretty burnt up, and I don't want to drag Zecora into any of this shit. I don't know what these techno-coloured fucks have in store for me, but I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of doing me in themselves. I'm going to give myself up to the guards standing around our house, but not before taking a slow-acting poison. In about 10 minutes, I'm not going to have to put up with this hell anymore. It's funny, now that everything is about to come to an end, I'm not really all that scared anymore. It's kind of soothing, knowing that it's almost over. If you're reading this, then it means Zecora has followed my last request. All I have to say is good luck and goodbye. Tears ran down Twilight's face, staining the already withered pages of the journal in her hooves. The hospital room was dead silent, save for the beeping of a heart monitor. Laying in a magically enlarged bed was the human known as James. His tattered clothing had been replaced by an almost comically small medical apron that barely covered his 6-foot frame. Muck stains tainted his tanned skin, his build still toned in spite of seemingly going days living off scraps or foraging. The hair on his head and face was long, blackish brown, and messy from days of neglect. Hooked into his arm was an IV, the object slowly feeding his body a steady cocktail of potions to counter the damage from both his treatment and the poison. She couldn't bring herself to look at his legs, the screams she heard from him that day still ringing in her ears every time she did. They would heal, but the memory would take far longer to fade. Swallowing down the lump in her throat, she set the journal aside and in a shaky voice forced out 2 words. I'm sorry.